Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation News, where we talk about what's new in the world of action figures. If you watched my video on the new Elvis MODOK, you would know that I spent a week in Colorado. On that trip, where I learned about the new MODOK World Tour set, I also learned about their other con exclusive, Venom, from Spider-Man the Animated Series. Instead of taking one of their many generic Venoms and just throwing them in a retro-style box, Hasbro went the extra mile by sculpting a new Animated Series head. 2 of them, in fact, but they didn't stop there. Hasbro went the extra mile and added some red and blue cell shading to recreate his look from the cartoon itself. When I saw the promotional pictures for this figure, there are 3 things that I thought. 1, this looks a lot like the dog alien from the NECA Toys Alien 3 video game figure. 2, this is really cool because we've never actually had a Venom that recreated that look before. And 3, wow, this is a really appropriate use for that retro card packaging. So far on this channel, I have yet to review any of the figures on those retro style cards, but I do have opinions. And my main opinion is that more often than not, it is nothing but a nostalgia baiting cash grab. Don't get me wrong, I love this Spider-Man figure, and this figure on a retro-style box makes sense. Even Gambit here and a bunch of the other X-Men figures make sense because the figures were originally released on these style cards. But what about other figures? Take, for instance, Armored Daredevil. I love the figure, but Armored Daredevil was never released as part of the animated Spider-Man line. This version of Daredevil was released as part of the Toy Biz Marvel Superheroes line. You know, like this one. Spoiler alert, Toy Biz didn't make a Black Widow as part of this line either. And I don't have anything against retro-style figures or retro-style cards. Case in point, I have been loving the Walmart exclusive Real Ghostbuster figures. My issue is when Hasbro puts characters in retro-style packages that were never actual retro figures. Venom, however, is a wonderful exception because, unlike most of the figures that Hasbro puts in those cards, Venom appeared on Spider-Man the Animated Series. And not only did he appear on the animated series, they're sculpting him specifically to look like that version. Eagle-eyed fans will notice that there are holes in his shoulders. Those are a holdover from the body that they used to create this new figure, which, if I remember correctly, I think is Omega Red. He comes with interchangeable claw and fist hands, and also an extra head that doesn't have a tongue. Personally, I would have preferred that the extra head looked like the animated series version of Eddie Brock, but more on that in just a minute. Like everything else on the internet, the reactions have been fairly polarized. There are those like me who are jumping for joy that not only are we getting an animated series style Venom, but also with all that cool red and blue detailing. But then there are those who are grumbling because they would rather it be a solid black and white just like the original toy. And you know what? I actually do really see where you're coming from. I am super nostalgic for the Spider-Man animated series. But for me, one of the biggest focuses of that nostalgia isn't really the cartoon itself, it's the toys that came with it. And the Venom figures from the animated series didn't have that kind of cell shading. But before you go and crack open a bottle of nail polish remover to scrub those details away, I would like to suggest that you, like Wanda Maximoff, lack vision. Do you really think that Hasbro is going through all this trouble to give us one animated series style Venom and then never do it again? Of course not. Mark my words. 6 months to a year after that Venom is released, Hasbro will unveil another retro line of Spider-Man figures, which will absolutely include that exact same figure, but without those detailings. But Jason, I hear you say, by what carrot will Hasbro lure us into buying that same figure all over again? An Eddie Brock head sculpt that wasn't included with the original figure that will nicely mix and match. Call me Toystradamus because I am absolutely 1000% positive that this is exactly what they're going to do. So if you're looking at this new red and blue Venom and thinking that maybe it's just a bit too busy for you, I would definitely invite you to sit a spell because eventually the figure that you want will absolutely come your way, and frankly, that will just leave more for the rest of us. Are you going to be picking up the new animated series Venom? What do you think about this whole thing? Sound off in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this little rant about the upcoming Venom and also retro card packaging. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.